Welcome to this explainer. Today we're diving into a really fascinating mystery. Why do some people miraculously escape the money treadmill while the rest of us just seem to run faster and faster on it, getting nowhere? Well, to truly wrap our heads around this, we're going to start with a story about two coworkers who stepped up to the exact same starting line. Okay, picture this brilliant contrast between these two folks, Christoph and Anna. 5 years ago, both were making the exact same salary, $82,000, working in the exact same office. Now, Christoph, he spent those 5 years entirely obsessed with money. We're talking a spare bedroom that literally looks like NASA mission control. 6 monitors, complicated candlestick charts everywhere, and he's executing trades before the sun even comes up. And then we have Anna. Honestly, as far as anyone could tell, Anna did absolutely nothing. While Christoph was pulling out his phone at a neighborhood barbecue to show off his trading dashboard like it was a newborn baby, Anna was across the yard happily eating a hot dog and completely ignoring finance entirely. So here's the crucial point. Fast forward to right now, 5 years later. The coworker who seemingly did almost nothing is over $100,000 richer than the coworker who sacrificed all his mornings to the market. No way, right? But what should absolutely shock you today is that this isn't some weird anomaly. Not only, the math tells us this is actually the rule. And this perfectly illustrates a concept called the ceiling lie. You see, every wealth method out there has a ceiling and a median. The ceiling is that one rare guy who got spectacularly rich doing it. And surprise, surprise, that is exactly what online gurus sell you. But the median? That's what actually happens to a normal person who tries it. When you buy into the ceiling lie, you waste your absolute most valuable asset, which is your time. Time is the one non-negotiable ingredient the compounding simply cannot run without. Wasting time on flashy outlier strategies costs you compounding years that you can never ever buy back. Alright, let's get into part 1, the 5 flashy losers. We're going to expose the wealth traps that look super sexy on your feed, but mathematically destroy your financial foundation. Let's start with day trading. The pitch is totally intoxicating, right? You, a regular person, beating Wall Street from your spare bedroom with no boss. But here's a wild reality check. Researchers in Brazil tracked day traders and found a staggering 97% of them actually lost money. Meanwhile, a massive, decade-long study out of Taiwan showed fewer than 1% could reliably turn a profit. Why? Because the market doesn't even have to outsmart you. It just takes a tiny little toll on every single lop you run through spreads, fees, and taxes. It's a game where the house edge is literally built into the physics. Then there's crypto. And listen, I want to be really clear that we aren't judging the underlying technology here. We're just looking at the wealth math you've been sold. The Bank for International Settlements studied millions of crypto users and found a pretty brutal reality. As Bitcoin climbed, those giant whales quietly sold off to small retail buyers. When the dust settled, 3 out of 4 retail users, 75%, were sitting on massive losses. We saw this vicious loot repeat in the 2025 cycle, where the hype went nuclear right before clawing back 60 to 70% of value in mere months, just leaving latecomers holding an empty bag. Next up, we have those incredibly popular real estate empire hacks fueled entirely by borrowed money. This is perfectly demonstrated by a guy named Tyler. By 2007, at just 26 years old, Tyler aggressively leveraged his way to 12 properties, constantly borrowing against one just to buy the next. On paper, the guy was a millionaire. But then 2008 happened. Values dropped, refinancing dried up completely, and Tyler realized he didn't actually own 12 houses. He owed 12 underwater mortgages. The leverage that built his empire in 3 years completely erased him in 6 months. About side hustles. They're so often disguised as wealth strategies, but the underlying math tells a totally different story. Sure, it looks great to gross $800 a month driving rideshare on the weekends, but when you subtract all the hidden costs, gas, extra insurance, self-employment tax, and that silent killer of car depreciation, you are often netting around $14 an hour. You're basically trading your uncompounding hours for linear dollars, creating a faster hamster wheel that just drains the energy you desperately need to grow. Grow your actual career. Even chasing high-yield dividend stocks is a trap, and it's one that often catches the nicest people. The dream leaves out a fundamental law of finance. A dividend isn't just free money falling from the sky. When a company pays a $1 dividend, the stock price generally drops by $1. You didn't actually gain anything. You just moved money from your left pocket to your right pocket. And even worse, you just handed the government a tax cut on that movement. Total return is what matters, guys, not just the yield. If you're listening to all this and feeling like the whole system is completely rigged, recognize that this exact feeling of defeat is the moment online gurus prey on you. They literally wait for you to feel overwhelmed just so they can sell you an overpriced $49 course on a shiny new shortcut. The whole machine is built from the ground up to point you at these exciting losers. Okay, let's completely shift gears here. Part 2, the 3 boring winners. Let's look at the unglamorous proven strategies that actually build lasting wealth and the unglamorous. The first winning strategy is buying the whole casino through low-cost index funds. You aren't betting on a single stock. You're buying a tiny slice of hundreds of companies and quietly collecting a cut off every single table in the building. And here is a stat that belongs on a billboard. Over a 15-year period, 9 out of 10 highly paid professional fund managers in fancy suits fail to beat the boring index. Their fees just bleed them dry while the index just sits there and wins. Think about how Anna's boring engine works in real time. Putting just $500 a month into an index fund at an average historical return of 7% turns into over $560,000 in 30 years. Give it 40 years and it crosses $1.2 million. And you want to know the crazy part? You only put in about $240,000 of your own money. The rest is just compounding, doing all the heavy lifting, working the night shift while you sleep. The only catch is that you cannot panic sell when the market inevitably dips. The second proven method is raising your primary income. The gurus really want you to ignore this, but earning more is the lever with absolutely no ceiling. Imagine you have a slightly uncomfortable 20-minute conversation with your boss to bump your salary from $82,000 to $90,000. If you take that $8,000 gap and invest it at 7% over 30 years, that single slightly uncomfortable 20-minute conversation compounds into over $800,000. Getting genuinely good at your day job blows day trading completely out of the water. The final, totally unglamorous but absolutely most powerful lever is your savings rate. It is literally the only metric that controls both sides of the wealth equation at once. How much you invest and how cheaply you can live. Just look at the math here. Saving 15% means working for about 40 years, but bumping that savings rate up to 50%, that drops your timeline down to 17 years. Push it to 65% and you are totally free in just a single day.